Alright, so in this tutorial what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you one example of trying to repair this. So if you see, this is not good. It's not flexing the way I want. So a lot of times what's good is actually to animate it. So I'm going to hit S to key it, and then I'll go to like 15, and I'm going to key it down all the way, S, and then I'm going to go to 30, and I'm going to key it all the way up, S. Which is kind of weird. I don't know what just happened there where it moved the joint but not the bind, but whatever. Okay, so that way what I can do is I can scrub through while I'm still working on this, and I don't have to like manually move it each time. I can just scrub the timeline. Okay, so I'm going to right click, I'm going to go paint skin weights tool, and it's going to bring up this. Alright, now the one I need to worry about, so up here it's going to show me all the joints that I can select, and when I back this thing up you can see it's going through. Right now if you look, it's all Fruit Loops, and it's giving me like this multicolored thing, which is fine. In a lot of ways, it's superior to what I'm going to tell you to use, because it gives you more of a variance. It's more sensitive because it goes all the way through RGB. However, it's a little bit harder to read to me, so I'm actually going to switch this from color ramp to just black and white. Now, when I get into minute details, like when I'm rigging the face and stuff, or if I'm really trying to be really nitty-gritty, I will use this because, like I said, this is actually, you can actually tell when I turn it off, it's not quite as sensitive when it's RGB, like it's harder. But it's also a little more straightforward. So for big, gross motions, such as most of your motor movements here, I find that actually not using the color ramp is actually beneficial. Okay, so basically, what it does is that you select your joint up here, and then it shows you the fall off of influence. So white is 100%, and then off to black is none. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the shoulder here. So I'm going to just click on one. I'm just hitting the down arrow until I get to it. Okay, shoulder here. All right, so you can see clearly this is affecting this area, when in actuality it should have some effect. I'm not saying a crazy amount, but it should have some, but not like this. That's too much. Okay, that's no good. So what I need to do is I need to remove that influence. But I can't just paint, I can't just remove it because it won't, I don't know where it'll go. Theoretically, it would go to where it should go, but yeah, I don't trust it. So what we're going to do instead is, let's scroll through here. Okay, is I'm actually going to go to spine 2, which is obviously this joint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint, and you can actually see, so there's this black hole there. That's kind of weird, right? Like, that shouldn't look like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint weight. I'm going to paint value of this onto this. And as I paint weight onto this, it removes it from this. Because every vertice has a value of 1 that it can be distributed across joints. Okay, so each one of these points. Now, as I add value to this, it's going to remove it from this in order to compensate, right? So if this is currently got, right here, we'll say it has 0.5. If I put a value of 1 onto this, it's going to take all of it. All of it's going to go here because that's all that can be. Okay, it'll take it from everywhere that's influenced this as one area. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, so I got this spine 2 joint. Okay, 1, 2. I don't understand. Is there a spine 3 joint? Scroll down. Just curious. Nope. Okay, so it's spine 2 joint. So I got this here. Oh, because it's spine 1, spine 2. That's right, spine 1. Or spine 1, spine 2. That makes more sense. Okay. Now I'm going to go down here. And you can see we have this, this, and this. Okay. I don't want to use the feathering. I don't want to use this feathering. I want to use this. Because basically whatever's in this circle is going to be 100% whatever I'm clicking on. This feathers out, which is good for some things, like if I was smoothing. But it's not going to be good for me just trying to put values on something. So I'm going to select this one. And then I'm going to hit add. Add's going to add value onto what it already is. So if it's 0.1 and I brush once, it's going to add 0.1 to this joint. If I paint again, it's going to add another 0.1 to this joint. So it'll make it 0.2 and so on and so forth. If you do replace, if I did 0.1, if I painted it once, it'd be 0.1. If I paint it again, it would still remain 0.1. Okay. Also, let's say it was already 0.2 and I paint across this, it will actually lower it and make it 0.1. Adding will only add weight. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to take my value and go up to 100. Now, to change the brush size is B. You'll see the little double arrows pop up. And I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this 100% value to this. And I'm just going to go in here like so. yada, yada, yada. Okay. Now, and if I bend this, you'll see it sort of fixes it and it sort of doesn't. So one thing you'll notice is that it no longer moves with that, but it should move a little bit. And also it's just a very stark control, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to smooth, and I'm going to smooth this value out. So I'm going to go smooth, and now if I want, I can use like one of these. I don't usually just keep it on there, quite honestly, but we'll just go ahead and do that. What you want to do is don't take value off, only add to. So only paint really in the dark areas. Don't try not to paint an area that's already white. So I'm just going to brush in here as best as I can. Okay, and to make this a little bit easier, I'm going to go to show. I'm going to do none, and then show polygons. And that way I don't have all the other extra controllers and stuff in there. And I'm just going to kind of brush this in here too. Alright, and then we'll kind of, I'm going to brush a little bit of the white, but for the most part I'm not like getting too crazy with it, just to kind of blend it in. Alright, so smooth is just going to smooth out that. Now, the thing is, like, in order to like take a little bit of this off, I actually do have to switch. So I'm going to go to, let's say, spine 2 or spine 1, the one that's below it. And you can see this is really stark, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use smooth and try and smooth that out. Okay. And actually, I'm even going to go to add, and I'm going to change my weight to, like, let's say 0.05. And I'm just going to keep kind of painting a little bit, because I feel like it should have a little bit of that piece of the pie there. Like so. Alright, I'm only going to worry about the one side, because we're going to flip it to the other. Alright, then I'll go back to smooth, and I'm just going to kind of paint this smoothly. And we'll just kind of paint that smoothly. That looks good. Okay, scroll down. So spine 2. And then you can see left shoulder, which is basically the clavicle. I'm just going to go ahead and try and smooth that. So we're going to smooth this out. Alright, you can kind of see. And then I'm scroll down. I'm going to go to the left arm joint, which is this one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try and just smooth it out and give it a little bit of influence, because I don't want it to be completely stark. Okay, you can see how like it's really kind of okay. So now let's see how that flexes. So now you can see that looks a bit better, right? That's it's not perfect, but it's acceptable. Okay, so I'm looking actually even too. So see how like this, even though it's a rib, actually technically shouldn't move. I'm gonna try and just smooth that a little bit too. So I'm just kind of clicking and dragging, just kind of brushing. And what you're gonna see is that now that moves a little bit with it, right? It's a little bit better. I do have a weird issue. So if you look at here, this is actually a good little lesson here. So see how like these little points are moving weirdly? So those are weighted to something. I don't even know. Something strange. Okay. Like more to this than they should be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Q. I'm going to go to vertex. Sorry, Q. Vertex. I'm going to select this one. And then what you can do is if you go to skin, there's a tool called hammer skin weights. And what it does is it looks at the values around them and then tries to apply that to it. And it usually fixes any kind of weird issue. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm just going to hit G since it was the last thing that I did. Select this one, hit G. Let's see. So anytime I find any kind of weird vert, so like there's another one, G, G, G. All right, and let's grab this one and hit G. All right, so boom. See, that kind of fixed that generally. But you can see there's a bunch over here. I don't know what happened there. So here's another one up here. I'm gonna hit G. I'm gonna grab all of these ones, and we'll hit G. Let's see. And you see how it kind of fixes it? So the weight hammer is actually really nice. So if you notice like you have one vert that's like way the heck off, just go ahead and use that weight hammer. So it's just skin and hammer weight, skin weights. Okay. Not 100% sure how it works, but it works pretty well. So you can see now we got the shoulder working well, and within reason. I mean, the thing is, quite honestly, most of the time when you see like really cool stuff, they actually are using other things in order to alleviate some of the issues. Okay, so there is a limit to what you can do. I mean, it's just is what it is. As long as it's not like crazy cutting in or pinching. Because honestly, if you try to move your arm straight up, bend it like that, you can't do that. You can try to do it right, and be like, yes, I can. But when you're doing it, you're rotating your arm. You're not actually directly pulling it straight up. It's not physically possible. So it's not really a great explanation of it. But the down is my bigger concern. And honestly, that looks probably okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do show all. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the keys. So I'm going to start from where the end is. I'm going to hold shift, click, and drag to here. Right click, and just go delete. And that'll delete all the keys on it. Okay? Now let's go ahead and mirror the weights. I'm going to select this, just the model. I'm going to hit shift I. So I have nothing selected but the model. It's isolate selected. And I'm going to control, I'm going to right click, just normal right click, edge, double click. I have the center edge loop. I need to convert that to a vertice. Control, right click, two vertices. Convert your selection to vertices. Now, I'm going to hold shift, click, and drag over the entire thing. So now I have everything selected but the center vertex, which is actually what I was after the whole time. Just in case you have to keep doing this, we're going to make a quick select set. So go to create, sets, quick select sets, and we're going to call it all but center verts. And I'm going to go ahead and add shell. What that's going to do is that I can click off, and every time I click on this, it reselects that stuff, which is awesome, because when I want to go and do whatever, I can just, like if I go and I paint more, I can just click on this and hit mirror weights, and voila. I don't have to go through this whole process again. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, so I have all but center verts, and then you're going to go to skin, mirror, and this is one of the things actually you're going to want to save real quick, so because this actually messes it up sometimes. Okay, so click that button, skin, mirror skin weights, hit the option box, and in our case, and probably your case as well, it's going to be YZ, so you got to picture this plane. The easiest way to think about it is, okay, it's going to go positive X to negative X, which if you look, there's X. I'm going to go from this side to this side, right? Because this is everything on this side to that side. So if you just look at this, if you're not sure which one of these to push, look at what the next thing says. And we want to go from positive to negative. Generally speaking, the rest of this is fine. If you notice it isn't working, switch to the next one, switch to the next one. And then if it still doesn't work, add another influence, but honestly the default should probably be okay. If it doesn't work, it means that your model is probably asymmetrical, or there's something strange about it, which you might want to fix before you even do any of this anyway. Alright, I'm going to hit mirror, and now I'm going to go back to object mode. I'm going to hit shift I with nothing selected, and you will see when I rotate this now that his other arm is now like the arm that we did the weighted on, the weights. Okay. Oops, sorry. So another area you might want to do is the leg here. So if you look, the butt area is kind of okay, but it gets a little bit cut in here. It's not terrible, but generally speaking, you can see wherever we have areas where like new limbs come off is typically where you're going to see problems. So really, the arm and the shoulder are the two things you're going to want to probably fix. Okay. Or I'm sorry, the shoulder and the upper thigh here, where it meets. Okay, I'm not going to bother with that right now. It would be more or less the same process. This is one of those things where it's really tedious, but it's one of the things that needs to be done. Okay, so go through that, and when you're done with that, you are good to go, and we will start animating next class. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this as number 5. And we are good. All right.